Listomania. Think less but see it grow. Like a ride, oh. Not easily offended. Not hard to let it go. From a mess to the masses. Listomania. Think less but see it grow. Like a ride, oh. Not easily offended. Not hard to let it go. From a mess to the masses. Follow misguided, stand still. Discuss, discouraged. On this precious weekend and in this love for gentlemen only. Wealthiest gentlemen only. Now that you're lonely, too late, chocolate, but slowly discouraged.
Yo, what the fuck is going on? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? How are you all living? It is the afternoon. It is 3:57 p.m. Bitcoin is $72,644. The last time I was able to say that would be Monday, June 1st, 2026. Well, we were in a free fall from 73,000 all the way down to the great number of 59,133, which was not the low, because just a few weeks later on June 31st, we reached a new low of $57,721, which would mean what I think it means, that is time to get the sign in the back up. All right, special afternoon stream. We've been doing a good amount of these, and I think right now is as dire of a situation as ever. If you are watching on YouTube or Twitter, twitch.tv/threadguy would be the place that I would kindly ask you to join, because that's the only place that I read the chat. So if you have questions, if you have anything you want to ask, kindly join me there in the Twitch chat. It'd be very appreciated. It's the only one that I look at the number. And so when I see the number, my dopamine goes up. If I see it low, it goes down. And then it's like, I think to myself, like, man, how excited would I be to stream if all of these YouTube people were in the Twitch? The number would be so high and we could all live in syncrecy and utopic happiness forever. But look, that is what it is. I'll take Bitcoin 73 over I take a couple extra 100 people in the Twitch. But look, we're doing a second stream today because we have a special guest that is ready to come on right now. It is Mr. GoodAlexander. If you've ever listened to used to be YouTube gang, leave my weird brethren over there. If you've ever listened to a GoodAlexander stream, you know, oh, that's my computer on an oil barrel. You know that you're always in for a good one. I think this is going to be a particularly good one. GoodAlexander, of all people, is a bull and really had nothing to do with the plumbing and like underground tech of crypto. It wasn't like FOMO users or like pump fund volume. It was ideological reasons on the future of Bitcoin and private money and yeah, all of that. All of that. So look, I think it's gonna be a fucking banger. I think he's gonna have a lot of really good takes on what's going on. Tell him the dash P&L. A lot of really good takes on what's good flood on what's going on right now, and it'll be a very solid like flip from Fei Zhao, like just different kind of guy, different everything. So he is going to come on in about 1 minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get up real quick. I'm going to throw you in the waiting screen. I'm going to get him ready to go. And then I'll be back in 30 seconds. We'll be joined by Mr. GoodAlexander for a second stream of the day. When I'm done, we're going to pop over to Market Bubble. Anson will be live by the time that we're done. And we will get, look, it's content time, baby. Let's get some fucking content. All right. BRB, see you in 30 seconds. And we will have Mr. Alex Good on the stream.
We'll burn the pictures instead. When it's all over, we can barely discuss for 1 minute only. Not with a fortune and only. Thought it could have been something else. These days it comes and goes. A list of mania. Think less but see it grow. Like a ride, oh. Not easily offended. Not hard to let it go. From a mess to the masses. A list of mania. Think less but see it grow.
what? I might at some point drop the playlist. But all right, let's get it, man. We're on a tight schedule here. Let's roll right into it. Let's get him up on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter and you would like to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. And on that note, let me move him over and pop him up. And ooh, boom. There we are. Mr. Alex, good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thread guy. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you. The last time you were on, which was, I don't know, part 5, maybe, was a couple weeks, 10 days before the SpaceX IPO.
It was. Now we need to stop doing this. The fact that like everything is going to be fine once we stop doing these episodes. Society will just be on the right track. Like every time we do one of these interviews, it's just a sign that things have deteriorated progressively, right?
I was cracking up at. I took a screenshot of this. I sent it to ChatGPT. Their current quote doom index 68 out of 100. Doom is the base case. So I'm like, all right. There's nothing better. But look, a lot has happened since you last came on, and then I think the last 72 hours. If you were in crypto, I've been the most eventful 72 hours in a long time. So we have a lot to go over, a lot to cover. And I mean, I want to give you some flowers. I think you're an interesting guest right now because I mean, you're a nobody's on kind of guy for me on Twitter. And I think that you, of all people, have been a real crypto bull over the last 6 months, but not because you're looking at Solana transactional volume or like, FOMO users or pump fund activity, but for like ideological shifts in society, in markets, in the importance of Bitcoin. And I think you sort of have a little bit of a different bull spin than a lot of people, and you've been pretty vocal about it, definitely over the last quarter of everyone on my timeline.
I have a lot of conversations with people. A lot of VCs have been pressuring crypto projects to pivot out of crypto. And people will come to me and they'll say, so-and-so top name VC thinks crypto is toxic. They want, this and that. They don't want a token anymore. People want an AI research lab. I was talking to guys who, last year were pitching everyone on decentralization. And then they're like, oh, what are you doing now? You're like, I'm doing an AI research lab. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, how do you not believe in the government? Like, how do you get into crypto and not believe in the government and see all the stuff with Jeffrey Epstein and live through a COVID lockdown and get into this space and then be like, yeah, you know what? Never mind. Right. It's sort of like it's one of these things where I'm like, there's no such thing as halfway crooks. Like once you get into this space, you can't really intellectually honestly leave, right? You either think that fiat is a thing or you don't think that it's a thing. And then you don't randomly start, like, I don't look at the government right now and be like, you know what? Like everything is so well run. It's just so much better than I expected. It's like not corrupt anymore. We're on track to get rid of the deficit. I'm like, no, it's like way worse than it ever has been before. We're losing a war with a fucking third world country. Oil is ripping. Like we're just, pumping hyperliquid because Trump's son is like probably like ripping oil contracts. Like we're in a banana republic. And I'm like, dude, why would you pivot out of crypto and into fiat when we're literally at the beginning of absolute degradation of the fiat system?
Could Alexander be like, think of the worst case scenario and then make it 10 times worse? But you just made this tweet and it was a really good tweet. It was long. It was a really good tweet. And I'm not going to read it back to you. I'm just going to read the end. And it's 3 lines. Question 1. We invented awesome amounts of money. Is everything awesome as a result? Question 2. Do you think the system that elevated Jeffrey Epstein to the pinnacle of society is going to let you become an immortal because of AI-generated biotherapeutics? I know my answers and I act accordingly. Do you?
I mean, do you? I mean, I was asking the question. I have my answers.
How do you act accordingly in this situation?
Well, I wrote a manifesto back in 2023. It was called the Black Print Manifesto. And the theory was that, I don't know if you've seen, for example, the chart of ARCG, right? The genomics
No.
chart.
No.
It's just up only technology. Citrini has done a great job pushing things
And
like
what is this?
Twist. The ARC Genomics Index. It's just
Okay.
like the most Momo. We're gonna cure cancer.
Got it.
Um, and my theory has always been that uh, AI and biotechnology are going to structurally intersect. In Puerto Rico, I live on Ponce de Leon, and Ponce de Leon is like the famous Spanish explorer who was
Yeah.
looking for the well of youth. And of course, this is a if you go back throughout like the history of money, rich people get super rich and they always try to become immortal, right?
Yes.
Like they always
Yes.
fail. It's like German eugenics or span. It's like, and the most recent permutation of this is Brian Johnson
Yes.
and trying to basically synthesize treatments for yourself. And then you get into this, you look into this, and you realize that these AI companies have a very, very strong structural incentive to pivot out of the inference story, right? It's because, so for example, like Oracle CDS is at all-time highs. Alibaba just came out with earnings and they said that inference is just like a step towards something bigger where they're going to be developing their own products. And if you're an AI research lab, you're sitting there being like, okay, I need to IPO. Maybe my revenue is decelerating. OpenAI, for example, disclosed that their revenue is like below their expectations and their gross margins were like negative, right? Because they're just like lighting compute on fire. And then you like look at the memory guys and they're just like crushing it, right? Because they're just like, yeah, we've got 3 year deals. We forced everyone into them and like 70% of the AI capex has to go to like Korean people. And so SK Hynix is crushing it, Micron's crushing it, SanDisk, they just like have the mo, right? They're these like old businesses. And so you have fixed contractual commitments. The inference business doesn't look like it's gonna like come through. And you're like, what do we do? Right. And so Dario Amodei shows up on Twitter, is like, well, let me tell you, like we're gonna cure cancer, right? Well, like we've got Claude whipping it. Claude has cured disease, man. Hallelujah. And so now like the entire biotech sector is absolutely on fire because Moderna came out, which, and by the way, this has nothing to do with Claude. Moderna's personalized medicine is like 2018 artificial intelligence. It's not like large language model shit. It wasn't like they told Claude to invent a vaccine or something like that. And furthermore, like if you look at the history of Moderna, it is like the scam co, which like okay, like I don't know if you remember the Joseph Biden or Joe Biden,
Joseph Biden.
Joseph Biden, yeah. So he had this debate where he's like, classic Biden. He went off script. He's like, I'm pretty confident the Moderna vaccine, and then like it was before the Moderna vaccine was even like authorized, right? So he knew it was part of the plan. So like, and I've been trading Moderna for a while because it's like it was a meme stock, and the management was fraudulent. And so I traded, of course, it's in my coverage universe. That's like the good Alexander coverage universe. I love trading pretty much all financial malfeasance because, like, why would you not bet on sure things? So Moderna is like a sketchy fucking company. It was like that was the company that gave us the vaccines, right? Like that's the whole, myocarditis, like that's the whole thing. That's Moderna, and they're the ones who are supposedly curing cancer. And so now you have this mosaic where you're like, the incentives. I remember last time we talked about how SpaceX was going to do well on its IPO because Elon had invented the ultimate non-falsifiable bull case,
The
which is
sun.
that, yeah, it's like how big is the sun? It's so big, right? It's just the biggest thing in the universe. It's like 99% of energy. Therefore, SpaceX is 99% of the market. So it's very obvious. But this is the equivalent of the SpaceX moment where Anthropic is going in there and being like, they're going to be, Dario's going to be like, my background is in genomics. And Demi Hasibis actually stepped away from Google for the same reason because he's pursuing genomics ventures. And so you have a consensus that ranging from Alibaba to Anthropic, that inference isn't going to be the game. We need to spend AI on extending human mortality, right? And so now you're on this like health. It's kind of an all-encompassing, maybe we're going to cure all human disease with artificial intelligence. So maybe you don't need to worry so much about OpenAI's negative gross margins or Anthropic's deceleration, booking
Because we're
curve,
curing
etc.
cancer.
Exactly. And so that's why you have, up only charts on these like pretty sketchy like biopharma stocks because but then like what's interesting is that you do get the sense that things are kind of accelerated because there's so much capital flowing. I've heard that basically South San Francisco is just like bid right now. Like people are moving to biotechnology for like people are pivoting. The original is like pivot out of crypto into AI. The new meme is like pivot out of AI into bioinformatics, right? And so there's like material lab monkey shortages, right? Like there are not enough monkeys because people are doing so much they're publicly traded Chinese monkey companies. I'm not going to name the tickers because it's too ridiculous, but
Give us
um
one. What's the market cap?
it's yeah, I'm not going to shill a
Okay, okay,
Chinese
okay. Fine,
monkey
fine, fine,
stock
fine,
on the
fine, fine.
stream.
Fine.
Not until I have it. I've been building this position for weeks, so I can't just go on here and just but yeah, so basically there are not enough lab monkeys. It started with COVID and there's huge testing acceleration. And so we kind of know when I ask that second question, like, do you really think that these companies are doing this because they think they're going to cure cancer? And my answer is like, probably not. My actual answer to that question is I think they're doing it because they want an excuse to ban Chinese open source models, right? So if you think about the game theory of this, you basically pivot the narrative of AI into bio. And Anthropic has been tweeting about bioweapons for over a year. They say, oh, you might be able to develop a bioweapon. And actually, a lot of these like Anthropic press releases are Anthropic models using an orchestration model on top of open source models, right?
Okay.
So they're kind of setting the narrative up. So they're going to say, we're pivoting into biotech and we're going to cure cancer. And by the way, these other models, these models from China, I don't know if COVID was made in a lab in China or not or whatever, but we can't trust these Chinese models with biopharmaceutical information because we might make another COVID by accident. Some random guy may make another COVID by accident. And then they're going to lock this shit the fuck down. And they're going to say you're not allowed to use Chinese open source models because you would be using unauthorized bioinformatic national security information, right? That is the plan. And so this is not actually a plan to cure cancer. This is a plan to basically pump their stock with an unfalsifiable bulls thesis, followed by a plan to expand their margins by outlawing their competition by citing national security reasons. That is what is actually happening. And the thing is, it's like, it's not even like if you look into, I don't know if you've ever followed the sort of Peter Thielisms, like um, Peter Thiel goes on all these podcasts and he always has the same shtick. He's like, technological progress wasn't allowed since like 1945 when we invented the atom bomb, and that's why we have the economy of bits instead of the economies of atoms. It's like his meme. But it turns out that like Peter Thiel was like emailing Jeff Epstein, and Epstein was talking about this, right? He's like, we're gonna like get some things shut down, and like Epstein was like part of this weird decel
Whoa.
community. And the weird thing is that Epstein is like, Cami, I don't know if you know who Cami Clark is.
Oh, it's Dar. Yeah, I do now with the
Yeah.
Daria's wife who was emailing Epstein about the luxury porn company and all of this.
Yeah. So Cami Clark was, she was dating Eric
Oh,
Schmidt.
Eric Schmidt from Google.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so she was like pretty involved in his family office. And guess who is the biggest like bioinformatics private investor in the world?
Eric Schmidt.
Eric Schmidt. Yes. And so pretty much like, and Eric Schmidt is great for like he has good memetics. Like he's kind of a player. He pumped Kita just because like his
Yeah, what the
ex-girlfriend.
fuck was that, by the way?
So the story there is that his ex-girlfriend, of which there are many, by the way, of which there are many. Cami Clark is one of them. This man, for some reason, is just like a machine. And so obviously that's why he wants to stay young because he can continue this generational run. And so
Crazy.
so basically, Cami Clark was involved with Eric Schmidt's family office, and she then subsequently started dating Dario, who's like a, bioinformatics guy. And so, and she was pitching Jeff Epstein on, obviously is actually a really bad pitch. She like wanted to make like a women's focused, like sex TV thing. And Jeff Epstein was like, no, I can't do that.
It's like
I'm
too
not
far for Epstein.
Yeah, he just was uninterested. He's like, I can't do TV sex. That was his email response. So yeah, I mean, but really the mosaic there of putting these things together rather than just like kind of this web, it's like there's a group of people, whether it's Thiel or Epstein, or Eric Schmidt, who's privatizing bioinformatics investment, where the narrative is pretty much like an elite are going to get access to acceleration, right? So if you've ever watched the show Altered Carbon,
No.
it's a good Netflix show. It's a good sci-fi book. And I think before we were in the Accelerando tape and now we're in the Altered Carbon tape. And the premise of Altered Carbon is that there's a group of like ultra rich people who have unfair access to bioinformatic technology, right? So the Moderna vaccine is personalized, and then kind of the premise of this plus Altered Carbon is like, what if you have these ultra rich people who aren't particularly incentivized to let bioinformatic vaccines go to the general population? Because there's already a monkey shortage, right? There's already, like what do you need to do whenever you test a drug? Well, you probably need human testing, right? And that obviously doesn't scale, right? And so, for example, if you look into the places where there is kind of scalable testing, I know a guy who does bioinformatics stuff in Puerto Rico. He's like, there are these clinics in Panama that anytime someone comes up with like a human validated trial, whether it's in Latin America, whether it's in the Middle East, there is just pretty much like an unlimited store of capital that will just like appear and take this stuff private, right? And so anytime there's like a big, biological breakthrough in like the early startup scene, and this is like one of the reasons historically why longevity funds have underperformed, right? Because you have pretty much these price insensitive buyers like Eric Schmidt's family office.
They don't care about returns. They just
There's
want
there's like buy the whole thing, right? Like buy the whole Panama like testing facility, buy it all, right? So they take it off the market. And this has been going on for a long time. Like I would argue that's why Brian Johnson's selling olive oil now, because he put his entire net worth into longevity investments. Like if you look at the chart of DNA, right? Ginkgo Bioworks, that was like his big bag. He's like on Medium shilling it. This thing is like down only tech, right? It's down 98% from the IPO. And he said, like, if you listen to his early interviews, he's like, the reason I did the blueprint was because of, I saw Ginkgo Bioworks like engineering these trees and shit. And I'm like, well, no, I mean, the reason you did the blueprint is because Ginkgo Bioworks stock went down 98%. If that thing had gone up 1,000%, we wouldn't be hearing from we wouldn't hearing your olive oil ads, right? So it's like, I sort of, my take on this is that it's a zero-sum game played by obviously zero-sum people. And like it goes back a long time, and there's a network of these individuals who've been interacting with each other. And we know this from Epstein's emails. We know this from kind of secondary private market information. And you kind of are like, okay, there's one big club. And my bet is that we're not going to be allowed to be in it. Right. So that's sort of like what I was saying in that tweet is like, it's a club. You're not going to be allowed to be in it. You're going to be pitched this idea for your own benefit. And then that pitch is going to be used and weaponized in order to shut down open source artificial intelligence technologies.
So first of all, that was a fucking can of worms. Like in that long post with the questions at the bottom, you referenced how like airlines have gone all in on software and airports fucking suck, and then how Uber has gone all in on like AI coding and the Uber app is no better. Is this like the final progression of like consumer, then it's like enterprise, then it's like replace all software engineers and all white collar jobs, and then okay, that's not working, now we're just going to cure cancer, and this is like the final like Hail Mary on AI GDP supercycle and we've already sped run it? Or
Well, I mean, you kind of know. So if you look at like what's happening in corporate earnings, there's two trends, right? So you have companies like HubSpot,
Mhm.
who came out and they tried to bolt AI services onto their existing products. And pretty much every permutation of that, whether that's car dealerships jamming AI in their chatbots or whether it's HubSpot building some AI assistant, one, it costs money, and two, customers are like, dude, I just want to talk to a person.
facts.
This is ridiculous. And so that's a failed category. The flip side is there's a very successful category, which is pretty much like you can call it like the Palantir slash Atlassian category,
Mhm.
where they're going in there and being like, hey, Anthropic and OpenAI might rug you. Um, there's this
Yeah.
data retention thing. Uh, you should be hosting your own AI services, and furthermore, you should be saving money on this stuff because it's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And those pitches are and those pitches are landing, right? So both Atlassian and Palantir are landing those pitches, and now it's put pressure on OpenAI and Anthropic to actually come out and put private, like both OpenAI and Anthropic in the last 24 hours have announced like, oh yeah, we have privacy products now. I'm like, okay. Well, so those are the actual, like, so the dumb prediction is that, um until there's some kind of ban, you're just going to see a big migration to DeepSeek and Quen, Alibaba and Chinese models hosted on basically on-prem servers that are just radically cheaper than Anthropic and OpenAI models. And the only way that that doesn't happen is if they release like basically a new frontier model, which both of them are kind of implying that they're not going to do, right?
Yeah.
Because Anthropic is like, oh yeah, we might have this fable. It's been a long time since we've had like a new frontier model.
Okay. Let me ask you this as a follow up, and then we'll bring it to crypto a little bit because I have a lot of crypto questions. Scott Bassin. Um, as it relates to AI, like this might be a super novice, just wrong evaluation of the situation, but the market has obviously slowed down a lot. The hyperscalers are super cash tapped. The memory trade post Leopold is not V'd back. Semis look terrible. Intel looks terrible. It almost feels to me that everybody just kind of got a little bit tired of the AI story. Like we were setting up for stream the other day, and there was that Gavin Baker, Dario back and forth that ended with "We're gonna cure cancer." And I was going over it to prepare for stream, and I just thought to myself, you know what? I don't even care. And I didn't cover it. I was just like, fuck this. I don't feel like talking about this. Just didn't cover it. And I feel like there is this like mass momentum fatigue of burnout where it's like, okay, we get it. AI's gonna change the world, explode GDP, but my life hasn't monumentally changed maybe since OpenClaw. I still use my OpenClaw. I still use it for clips and for recaps, but it hasn't like revolutionized my life. And I walk outside and everything's the same. We're kind of just like bored of the trade. Like, has this happened, or is this just like I'm living a bubble and I'm fried and I'm online too much?
No, I mean, I mean, the most recent data point is that, Walmart basically is guided. There's an aggressive consumer deceleration. It's going to the like one of the slowest paces of consumer growth in a really, really long time. And everyday life is getting a lot more expensive. Mortgages are the most expensive they've been. Gasoline is back on the highs. The strait is still basically closed. I live in Puerto Rico. They're rolling water outages and rolling power outages. The
There's
company
water
that
outages.
yeah. There's the company, the ticker PWR. It's
Okay.
Up Only Technology. They are the utility, which is basically the private partner for Puerto Rico's electric grid. The stock is up 600%, and the electricity doesn't work, right? So, and the reason why the stock is up so much is because they've been doing all these power deals with AI companies, right? So it's kind of this juxtaposition where you're like, dude, like the lights are literally not, like hospitals are on generators in Puerto Rico while we're just cranking chat GPT tokens. And it's like Walmart's decelerating. Why are we spending all these tokens? Right.
Whoa.
It's like, I don't know, man. And I think that's like we're at, I think to your point, we're kind of at the point where you need to see On the inference side of things, you need to have a show me story where you're like, I got rid of 10% of my employees. Like I was actually saying like the thing, I was a super software bear for a while, and I was like, okay, there's going to come a point at which Accenture fires 20% of its workforce because of AI, and then its margins expand like crazy, and like everything's going to pump, and like things are going to be okay. But it just like hasn't happened. Like
I thought the
Accenture still,
block was
yeah.
that moment, Jack Dorsey. That to me was like, that was the moment. It just didn't happen after that.
Well, Jack Dorsey's just like a futurist, so I think he thought it had to happen, and then he did it, and then like no one else did it. The Cloudflare guy's a futurist too, so it might just be that like guys like the Dorsey and the Cloudflare are just visionaries, and they figure out how to fire people, and reduce the workforce and expand the margins, but it's probably not most companies. And so yeah, I think that's why there is the pivot to biotech, because the inference story isn't working from an ROI standpoint. So we need to come up with another story because people are sick of it.
Yeah, I thought that Jack, you're right. No one else did it. Like I thought that was. I remember I was in the car after stream, and I'm like, Citrini article. We got to read it again. It's happening right now. And I mean, he was right about SPX price prediction, but not about the the mass firing. I mean, there's like layoffs, but it's not because AI is getting.
No, James was saying that DoorDash was going to have like people on their fucking Claude, like ordering like a self-driving
Yeah.
DoorDash meal, right? I think he might be a little early on that.
I think he mentioned Hyperliquid in that, or he definitely mentioned stablecoins. But
But he got the biotech thing right. He got this twist thing like 100% right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not 100% hit rate, but he got enough that it moved the needle.
Yeah, it did move the needle. All right, let's like do a 180, and we can come back to Anthropic IPO in a little bit and talk about the amazing cryptocurrency. I don't know what, 48 hours ago, I guess 72 hours ago, it feels like there is just a crazy vibe shift in one prices, but then in the Trump admin and the Fed, and specifically Scott Bessent. And I've been macro LARPing for 72 hours, and it's difficult, by the way. 72 hours, started learning about the yen intervention, and then now I'm talking about the 30-year. Like I'm all over the place. And we just had Fejao on, who's really Felix, really smart guy, and talked to us about it a little bit. But I kind of want to get your perspective, because I think this lines up with a lot of macro trends you've been talking about for like as long as I've known you, the direction that things are headed, the debasement, all of this. Like, what is in your mind so significant about the Bessent moves in the last 72 hours, and how correlated is the Bitcoin pop to the actions of the Fed versus the Treasury Secretary versus just we're bottomed, 4-year cycle, regular market forces? Like how tightly is it correlated?
I'd say that this move really started in early August with the BOJ joint intervention, which was a huge intervention. The context is that Japan is a huge holder of U.S. treasuries.
Yeah.
And if they have to intervene in their own currency, that can cause severe pressure on the U.S. treasury market, which, given deficit expansion due to the war, can basically put us in like UK-like situation. And so the incremental is that, back during the Brexit period, not the Brexit period, the Liz Truss bond implosion period, there wasn't a strong like, oh, fiscal reality is coming due in every currency. That wasn't a thing. Now we're having like multiple countries, right? We have Japan, because basically Japan has even more debt than we do, and their 30-year yield is blowing out. Their currency is weakened aggressively, and so the Bessent actions and the yield curve moves are best viewed in the context of G10 currencies doing things that normally in the past would have been reserved for emerging markets countries. And so that's like the deterioration of balance sheets in G10 countries is best viewed in the context of the gold price versus the long-term liabilities of the countries. And this is just Dalio core or whatever, right? It's like, but that is an up-only chart, right? There's this up-only chart, which is the gold price relative to the long-term liabilities of countries. And, the all-time high was that the Austrian central bank issued 100-year debt in 2021. that's now trading at like 3 cents on the dollar, right? So it's like full destruction of,
100-year debt is crazy.
they actually did that in Argentina somehow, and then they defaulted
Didn't Google do this recently?
I'm not sure. I haven't been following the Google
Okay.
debt markets, but that's epic if they did. Congrats. But if someone issues 100-year debt, like the history of the trade has not been like particularly good. Like you generally shouldn't be buying it. So yeah, I mean the basic mosaic is that this is all in macro been one trade, which is gold versus fixed income. And crypto has traded like crap
Yep.
relative to that trade, right? Like we have been saying for a long time that like if you told me like 4 years ago, okay, gold versus fixed income is an up only line, where is Ethereum trading? I'd be like 8,000. It's like, dude, it's a 2,000, right? So it's like it's crypto from a beta adjusted perspective. It's at 2 trillion. Gold is well above 28 trillion. And I think we kind of know the reasons why that's the case. And the simple reason is that crypto historically, uh, it's just like it's had a lot of governance issues, like the Ethereum Foundation, like they have a tendency to sell their tokens. Ripple did that crazy equity deal, which was like the equivalent of the Barachain deal, where it's like get your money back guaranteed, and that put pressure on XRP. I remember when I was like trading XRP and I was like at 320 and I was looking at it and they did that deal. I'm like, oh man, I better get out. And then everyone yelled at me, and then it went straight to 380 and then it collapsed, right? And it's like so crypto is just this wasteland in terms of sentiment, but I think the actual underlying technology keeps getting better, right? So if you've been following Zcash, for example, underneath the hood of all this stuff, you've had this almost Darwinian explosion of hacking in crypto, right? So all these teams are basically being forced to use AI to code review literally every single thing that they've ever done. And they're basically being like, it's like a real-time elimination of all the weak hands, right? It's like you didn't do your governance DAO correctly. Guess what? You're down $200 million. Goodbye. Right. It's like there's been like a culling. And I think the market so far has just viewed that as like crypto is structurally impaired. And I'm like, well, actually, the people who are still around, like Zcash recovered from that hack, right? And I think the market tried to make a play to blow up Saylor, right? It's like they pressed STRC all the way, like it looked, if STRC went to 70, it would have kicked a pure death spiral, because there'd be no way that that it would ever bounce. And Saylor made the gambit. The market decided, you know what? We're not going to send him to zero, right? There was a moment in time when the market could have taken Saylor off the chessboard, right? Like it was like, because if you'd pressed on STRC, like there's a local value fund manager who I'm very good friends with, who hates crypto, and he's like, he just like owned the entire put chain on STRC.
Wow.
And he's like, oh, these were the deepest value investment I ever made. He's calling me and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like MSTR still at 1 times MNAV. They're hyperliquid DATs. They're trading at like 0.6 MNAV. So say what you will about Michael Saylor, he still can sell equities. Yeah, I mean, actually, like the other bull case on Michael Saylor is like, he went on Diary of a CEO and said that he invented the entire strategy with ChatGPT. Now, the OpenAI has upgraded voice mode in ChatGPT. So Michael Saylor is on a much more intelligent model now than he was, right? So it's like, and STRC is at 95, and like normally in a bubble, there's something called a test. Soros writes about it. There's a moment in time when you can say, all right, take this guy out, and then they survive the test. STRC is at 95, and it's like Saylor's not dead. The MNAV is still, reasonable levels. I'm like, okay, if Saylor's not going to die, guess what he's going to keep doing? He's going to buy more Bitcoin, right? So you're kind of at this. And then you also have like, Stanley Drucken, like the Stanley Druckenmiller meme. You've got Paul Tudor Jones, who people take really seriously. And the other thing that's interesting is that if you look at Bitcoin and IBIT and you look at like the redemption, it's kind of like if we can break on a sustained basis through 80K, people aren't underwater anymore, right? So right now, like there's a moment when we were going lower, when it could have entered a death spiral, where the IBIT holders, if we break through 60K, everyone's underwater and they feel like idiots, and then BlackRock is like, oh yeah, it's no longer the most successful ETF launch of all time. It's actually the most value destructive
The
ETF.
worst ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's very reflexive. And right now we're like in positive reflexivity. People are sidelined. Michael Saylor's not dead. The narrative like soak of inference being the only thing in the market is no longer, like you said, you're tired of it. Everyone's tired of it. Nobody's getting rich. And it's like, okay, now we have to print money. G10s are trading like emerging markets. They're engaging in emerging market like behavior. Pumping hyperliquid, loosening SEC regulations. I'm like, this is like a perfect crypto bull market. And it's like during the point of kind of just like absolute despair. So from a price perspective, I think it's like we're at a great positive inflection. Now, my point from earlier is like, if you pivoted out of crypto, it's kind of like, what were you doing here to begin with? It's like, did you really think that you were going to make it in the data center economy? It's like, it's like, I don't.
They're first of all, that the testing, I've never heard that was so good. They did. I mean, they tested it. It was consensus that Michael Saylor absolutely positively is blowing up and it's going to happen. I mean, bro, Light Crypto came out of retirement to tweet, take his heart out. Eat his heart out.
That guy's not retired, man. That guy is running the most size he's ever run.
Twitter retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can come back to that one too. But okay, for your first points, Quinn Thompson made this tweet today. This is the side of the market I don't understand that well, but he said, my new favorite phrase, when developed economies start doing things you're not used to seeing, expect side effects that developed economies are not used to seeing.
Thing is, we're not really that far into we've done so much more ridiculous crap than buying the long end. Like, in 2020, like Jerome Powell put up a YouTube video where it sounded like he's in a fishbowl, who said there's a time and place to cross red lines, and that time is now, right? And that day, I remember like there was a 5% gold candle, that was like.
5%.
Yeah, it was as soon as he started saying that, people were like, "What? There's an SPV with like BlackRock that has like an emergency authorization to buy like corporate bonds. It's not even legal." And Jerome was like,
I don't even like know about this really.
This was in COVID.
I vaguely remember this, but I was like,
well, it was like the mortgage REITs. Like there was this like really stupid moment where these mortgage REITs had put on a relative value fixed income trade, buying crappy mortgages and shorting agency mortgages. And the Fed, because they went in and bought agency mortgages, they short squeezed these mortgage REITs. It zeroed their equity. And then it was about to cause like a financial crisis. And so they had to come in because all these people were long, low quality credit. They had to come in and they had to buy low quality credit or spin up facilities to buy low quality credit. Otherwise, the market was going to keep in this death spiral, right? And so like the things that we're seeing now are like, in my opinion, extremely calm relative to how kicked up it can get. Like once you start the yield, the good example is Japan, right? Like they started buying ETFs, and then like eventually they own like literally 50% of the ETF market.
holy fuck.
So it's like we're pretty, or like the significant thing is not the actual action. The significant thing is the commentary and him being like, we're willing to like go further. And the narrative that he's using is like also very Trumpian. So Trump kind of famously says, the US is the best credit in the world. Therefore, we should have the lowest interest rates. That's the big Trump line, right? And Scott Bessent is like, we want interest rates to trade to fundamental value. And to me, that's code for Trump, right? That's code for Trump saying that He's saying that Trump says that the 30-year should be 2%, and it's above 5%. And so what's fundamental value, right? The only way that you get to quote unquote fundamental value in Trump world is like you do yield curve control, right? So it's like, I think that's the words that he's using, and the fact that he's next to Trump, it kind of tells you that there's more to come. And that's why things are trading the way they are. I think that's why Bitcoin pumps so violently. I think that's why gold, I mean, actually, gold is a smarter market objectively. And somewhat notably, Russia has also been dumping gold, right?
Why?
Well, they just, the war is extremely expensive. The Ukraine war keeps dragging on.
That's insane. That's still going on at the
It's
level
still,
that
dude,
it is.
it's accelerating,
Yeah.
actually, right? It's accelerating, and it's getting worse. And so it's like, yeah, Russia, they got demonetized from US dollars, so they had massive gold reserves, so they're big gold holders. And so, yeah, I mean, like it's pretty significant price action that we had a kind of what I would say a COVID-like gold move at the highs.
Mhm.
Like it was almost like a QE gold move off of a very small purchase. And then that begs the question, if we're just getting started on these purchases, and if he thinks quote unquote fundamental value is what Trump is thinking, we're very early on intervention.
Whoa.
And so it's like, yeah, that's the Arthur Hayes thing. That's sort of like always the macro Paul Tudor Jones thing. Actually, Paul Tudor Jones, a lot of the things I put in that tweet are just parroting what he said in an interview. Where he's just pretty much like, look, like the earnings growth isn't there. All the deficits are there. Like we don't have the fixed income set up to absorb this issuance, and therefore intervention is going to be required, right? And it's like that's where we are. I think that's it's good for crypto because it's also like a refutation of the narrative, right? Like if everything was so awesome, if we're generating such massive economic excesses, why are we in such massive debt, right? It's like there is no productivity boom. It's just, a cost curve acceleration. My power is out. The company that's selling the power is up 600%. They don't give a fuck. And so it's like, we're going to see, what are the incentives here? The incentives are pretty much like a normalization of that move. So the thing that's up 600% is going plus 200%. It's down. It's going to go down 30%, right? So
Can you explain to the best, like, can you explain what is so significant about the 30-year or like the long end and the price that it is at right now, and what happens if the US does not defend that level?
Well, the significance of the long end, at least in the United States, is that it's the anchor for the mortgage market.
Got it.
And when Americans feel the pain of financial conditions, is through the mortgage market, because they're like, I can't refinance my house. Americans have a huge amount of wealth and home equity, and so the 30-year is also historically an area where the government doesn't usually step in, right? So in the case of Japan, for example, they'll control the 2-year and the 5-year, but the 30-year will just kind of be a market measure, unless you get really extreme and you do yield curve control. And then their historical like mini interventions, and that this was the language that Besant used, was twist. So Operation Twist means when you're rebalancing your fixed income portfolio to favor long end purchases. Actually, Besant, it's the other significant thing about Besant's behavior is that he criticized Janet Yellen pretty aggressively
for doing exactly this, right?
Yes. So it's significant in that regards as well. It implies that like it's probably Trump idea. Like if this is Trump's idea, Trump is not nearly done, right? Like with where this is, like Trump's idea is like America should get cheap mortgages at 3%, not 7% or whatever. Right? So it's like
And so is this like because Trump himself like can't cut, they will just force the yield curve down by controlling it, or like how does those two things tie together?
Well, I mean, it's like a question of Federal Reserve independence. I think Jerome Powell would have never complied with a sort of implicit or explicit order from Trump to do yield curve control. He was kind of his own man. And I think that's kind of why Trump hated him, even though he appointed him, because like he would like routinely get berated by Trump in these meetings, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure Warsh will be the same. I mean, actually, Warsh has a bunch of cryptocurrency investments.
Does.
He was college roommates with a very, very famous Bitcoin miner. So
Oh. He's
yeah,
investor in lighter and all these things, right?
yeah, I think he's I think Trump's policies are best described as mercantilist. Like he's always viewed the dollar as a liability. Like he doesn't want a strong dollar. And euro, like even though Ukraine is getting worse, even though European natural gas is like ripping, right? Because of Europe is very exposed to energy.
Yeah.
As is Japan, by the way. Dollar yen and euro have just surged. As dollar yen has dropped and euro has surged because this is the behavior of a weak dollar policy. And so, like the reason why this flows into crypto or flows into gold is that before there was a story about how AI was going to make everyone rich. And now it's like, okay, someone has to pay for all this stuff. Someone has to pay for, the other reason this is relevant is that Oracle, and other data centers are tapping the debt market to finance all these, data center investments, and their credit default swaps are increasing because the cost of rolling, like, if interest rates were zero, then it'd be easy to like justify these data center investments. The private credit market has already faced a lot of stress. I think it's seeing like 80% declines in the demand for private credit because
It's
of
crazy
the
withdrawals,
software,
right?
yeah, attempted gating. And I mean, like it's kind of stabilized because the software index has stabilized.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like they were really, really screwed in a situation where AI just like replaced all these like shitty software companies,
Yeah.
but it's not really replaced them. So it's sort of like we're not in an extreme risk off because the government has a lot of ammo. Equity risk assets are basically close to the highs. If you look at the historical retail markets for crypto, it's like Koreans who are rich. And so I think that's why you can see things like Brad Garlinghouse shows up and you know, it's like people are ready. People have been hurt by SK Hynix and they're ready to speculate on something new, right? So
Yeah.
XRP can see a pump, right? And I think that's new.
How do you think this debasement narrative, especially with BTC, like handles in comparison to the last one? And like how significant is this one versus the last one? Like is this signaling the flaming gun for go time for Bitcoin, or is it not that simple?
I th- I mean, I think it's less simple just because you have Z, like Monero is trading quite well. Zcash
Yeah.
is trading well. I think I'm a big Monero bull. I always have been.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, why would you own tracked BTC? Like, I don't get it.
Fair.
Um, but can BTC get a bid when Trump is announcing that they're thinking about buying it? Like, absolutely. And also, I think the other interesting thing is that I wrote in that blog post that there's just a huge tokenization push that wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the big problem in crypto has always been that there just haven't been that many good assets, right? They're like
Yes.
the
Yes.
credit in crypto is such crap. It's like GBDC, like basis credit, or like Aave lending to like really dicey guys like Stream Finance. Like credit in
Stream
crypto is like the
finance.
worst fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you have like the impact of RWAs is not really that like, oh yeah, like all these fees are going to immediately flow. It's more that like you have a real tradable universe and you didn't have a tradable universe even like last year. Like trade XYZ is important. And the fact that Trump is there's rumors, for example, that the CFTC was going to come after Hyperliquid. So the reason why Hyperliquid pumped so hard is because a lot of like people kind of in the know were like, oh yeah, Hyperliquid is going to get prosecuted. Jeff Yonnet, like the rumor was that Jeff, and obviously that's not fucking true, right? So if Trump is coming out and saying Hyperliquid, it means that Barron was like, hey dad, like no, Hyperliquid's the jam.
Yeah.
And that is the policy now. And that's great for crypto because it's like that means there's more on-chain fees, there's better assets, trade XYZ can flourish. And yeah, it's just unambiguously positive because that means that fees flow to chains, whether that's, Circle's new chain, whether that's Ethereum, whether that's Solana. There's a race between all these L1s, but at least you're racing for something instead of like racing for an indictment.
Kyle Samani mode. You've had these takes as well over the last, I don't know, these some older ones you've had maybe 6 months ago, that the next wave of like crypto capital is going to come from these like really rich individuals, like a mass flight fleeting out of the system. Like, do you think that is happening right now? Has that happened yet? Do you still think that's going to happen the same way? Like, how do you think that's going to play out?
I think gold, like when you get gold running like it is, the family office story to investors changes. Because if you think about like what actually is the incremental driver of crypto prices, there are two things. One is like, I'm a family office. I'm ultra, by the way, 0.1% of people own like something like 40% of the assets. Like when you
God,
incorporate all the
that's crazy.
offshore. So like the real driver of crypto is kind of like you're sitting in a family office and your UBS wealth report comes out and they say, is crypto investable? That's the first thing, right? Is like, are you going to go to jail if you buy this? Like right now, I feel the answer is no, right? And then the second is like, is there something hot? Like, can we just like be like, okay, Anthropic is just the shit. You need to put all your money in this IPO and then just set it and forget it. And I think it's conflicted. I think it's like, it's not entirely clear that you should full port the Anthropic IPO,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And so it's like, you're like, oh, the data center debt. Like if I'm really bullish on OpenAI, I can buy SoftBank at a huge discount, or I can buy Oracle debt. There's a lot of expressions that can suck out hot money. And then you're like, okay. And then gold is too expensive, right? Gold is just basically at the highs. And you're like, okay, like crypto is a catch-up trade, right? It becomes Paul Tudor Jones is in it, Stanley Druckenmiller in it. You index this credibility stuff, and then you can get real money flows because there's a story, tokenized stocks. I don't think you can get family office investors like jacked up on the Zcash story yet, right? You need to get like an AOC, or like you need to get them afraid. Right now, I think people are greedy, but for this thing to go vertical, then you need to get them afraid, right? And so it's like that's sort of like I think we're in greed, hyperliquid running, tokenized stocks. So I think that like the ETH, like hyperliquid, BNB, Binance actually does a lot of volume on chain stocks.
Yeah.
So I think like all these centralized exchanges are going to do great. I think Solana's upgrade is going to work well. I think Alpenglow is cool tech. And I think like it's kind of underappreciated how Tolly kind of took the tech development path away from Jump. Cause like there's always like this like problem that Jump was going to like create Fire Dancer and then just like maybe front run everyone on Solana. But Anatoly is like clearly, and you don't like it, for example, when someone like Vitalik's checked out or traveling in Asia, like Toly is not checked out. He's grinding. And like as a family office investor or an institution, you're like, okay, where am I going to put my money? It's like you've got some credible L1s, you've got some exchanges, you've got Bitcoin, like Ethereum is going to benefit from tokenization. I think the interesting like near-term trade is that I think it's probably difficult for Circle in the near term to fragment liquidity. Like they're dropping an L1.
Yeah.
I think when you don't have clarity, I think it's actually going to be difficult for the market to be able to absorb like an L1 that with $300 million, like there's $300 million of funding into this L1. I don't know how that thing's going to trade. And I think it's like, if anything, it's like, it's difficult. So yeah, I mean, like overall, the other thing you still are not seeing is you're not seeing Tether supply. Like I would have liked
Why
to
is stablecoin market cap not going up? I don't get it.
Dude, Circle's starting to see a little bit of inflow. But no, it's not great. The thing that I don't like is like, Tether finally got audited. I was KPMG like counted the gold bars. I love Tether Gold as a product. I think it's just based. It's like my preferred gold investment.
Yeah.
Because it's cheap to own. Like I kind of believe that they like have counted the bars themselves, and it's just like it's like I don't have a Swiss gold vault, and it's just compelling to me.
Yeah.
But I don't love the fact that you haven't seen inflows into Tether since you got the audit. I'm like,
Like
dude,
that should have been a catalyst, is what you're saying.
yes. And so I'm like, okay, like I think I would get like I think the thing that would change my mind is if we saw like a big USDT outflow. Then I would actually like get genuinely scared because it's like because
Got
you're
it.
like,
Got it.
okay,
Got it.
why
Yeah.
isn't the number going up? If it starts
Then it
going
goes
down,
down.
then I'm probably gonna freak out. So it's sort of like, yeah.
Can you explain to me how you win tokenized stocks? Like, who wins, and what does that even look like to win tokenized stocks? Like, how do you win that?
Dude, honestly, it's illegal. If you study the history of ADRs, Yandex is a great example, right? So when Russia went into to Ukraine, um, Yandex, the ADR, which was a Dutch holding company, went to zero, right? And the thing about tokenized stocks is that they're very similar legally to ADRs. So, for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
example, like the Robinhood thing is a debt instrument. And so, people were tweeting like, who's making a product that makes these on-chain stocks trade at the same price? And I'm like, well, I don't think they are going to trade at the same price because one of them has an Abu Dhabi regulator, the other is debt to a Liechtenstein-based company, and then the perp is trading on an Oracle on a spot price, which isn't either of those things, right? And so like the winner in on-chain stocks is going to be it's a jurisdiction play,
Huh.
right?
A jurisdiction.
So
Okay.
so like honestly, man, well, I don't know. I think Trade XYZ just like is winning from a liquidity perspective.
Yeah.
But my bet about who wins on-chain stocks would be like it's probably like a mix between Trade XYZ and Binance. I'm not and the reason is because like CZ is like in Abu Dhabi. The primary venue for that has like jurisdictional clarity on these on-chain stocks is like Abu Dhabi. It's a real financial center, and they're just desperate. They have unlimited money, but they have
Unlimited.
like huge amounts of oil wealth, and they desperately want to be a financial center. And there's signs that Abu Dhabi is going to be like the on-chain stock hub.
Wow.
And I'm like, they're just going to put the money behind it, and it's safe, right? If you're trading around with on-chain stocks, they're bearer assets. Unlike normal brokerage accounts, you can get wrench attacked. Right. So it's like you want to have a safe physical hub. And yeah, I mean, I just think it's kind of like Binance and Abu Dhabi are going to be there. And then like if Trump is being friendly to Hyperliquid, then Trade XYZ is suddenly the US play for on-chain stocks, and they're going to be able to get regulatory advantage, working with, for example, Kobe listed Hyperliquid perps. And Coinbase, by the way, is headed out to Abu Dhabi. So it's kind of like I just don't think Coinbase is going to win. And I don't think any of these, like, I don't think like NASDAQ or any of like Interactive Brokers, like, I just don't think they have the sort of like intestinal fortitude to go with. And I do think like CZ does, and I do think like Shoku does, right? Like those
Yeah.
guys, they're going to see it through, and they're going to win. I think that's my view.
Huh. I haven't really thought about Abu Dhabi very much. Thank you for that. That's a segment for sure. Okay, forward looking then. We'll flip back and forth. We're hearing Anthropic IPO like definitely this year. I think Polymarket has as a coin flip for mid-October, like imminent. OpenAI said 2027. I believe they came out today. So we're gonna get Anthropic first. It seems OpenAI second, but I mean that could be like December, January for both. Is there enough liquidity in the market to take this on? Like, I know people were upset about Anthropic's ARR was significantly lower than Yipit or whatever predicted, but it's still, I mean, they still are kind of posting disgusting numbers. OpenAI maybe not so much. What do you think happens when these hit the market, and like, does the money leave equities into crypto? Is crypto a complete non-factor? Like, what happened? Memory semis? Like, yeah, what's gonna happen on these IPOs?
I still like OpenAI relative to Anthropic. I think Anthropic's in the worst. I don't like the optics of moving the IPO forward.
Yeah.
Um, it just makes it seem like it's kind of like, when a girl says that she wants to go on a date 2 weeks from now, you're like, okay, she's kind of a hot commodity. And then she's like, actually, I'm free tomorrow. And you're like, I don't know. Maybe it's like, yes, maybe I don't want to do that. And so I'm not bullish on Anthropic. I think they're in the enterprise inference business, which we're seeing very, very clear customer behavior that people want to cut their bills. That's not something you want to see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think Codex is a better product than Claude Code for a lot of reasons. But uh, I think they're better trades. I think this genomics thing has legs, right? So I think that everyone is incentivized to do the unfalsifiable bull thesis,
Mhm.
except unlike Elon, right? Like if Elon's like go long the sun, there's not like an obvious like you're not going to buy solar stocks or something because he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
data centers in space. Whereas like if everyone's shilling biotechs, that I think this stuff is going to keep ripping, right? It's going to be acquisition targets, influx of VC capital. So yeah, I mean, even dicey stuff in the biotech sector, I think it's going to run just because that's going to be the narrative they're going to try to put on their IPO. And then I think OpenAI is going to go really heavy in ads because I think they have to,
Yeah.
because like that's how the data centers pay for themselves, right? Like Oracle, the big data center contracts with Oracle are with OpenAI. And why is
Yes.
OpenAI so expensive? Because everyone's on ChatGPT and ChatGPT loses money.
Yeah.
And how do you make money? You run ads.
You run ads.
And so it's like the advertising market, and this hasn't showed up in Google's numbers because OpenAI hasn't been slamming it on ads. And yeah, I believe that basically OpenAI is going to successfully build a very big advertising business, and it's going to turn the market from a one-player market, which is Google on search, into a multiplayer market. And it's going to be terrible for Google. So like in terms of like if you're like, okay, what's the trade? I'd be like, okay, long a bunch of biotherapeutic stocks and short Google. Like that'd be like if I were like, okay, like what's an exact equity trade? I don't want to fade the memory names because it's like the thing I think, like if you listen to SanDisk, so SanDisk just went on the road, and it's just like they all extended their billings curves like 3 years, right? And so the memory guys and everyone says that 2027 is tighter in terms of pricing than 2026. And the only real bear cases for memory, like that the analysts are trying to press on or whatever, because like Leopold was blowing up.
Yes.
People are like, well, what if all your customers go bankrupt? And they're like, well, then yes, they could cancel the contracts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that's the bear case.
That's
And
the
like,
worst case scenario. Yeah, that's the
so
only
I'm
bear
like,
case. Yeah.
and I think the other thing that's exciting, or maybe people are sleeping on, is like the Cerebrus ultra fast thing got like it kept getting delayed and it's not really live. But I think the average person hasn't ever used it. Actually, when GLM 5.2 came out, Vercel started serving like ultra fast GLM 5.2, and I was like, holy shit, this is a way better experience. And so I think like wafers, there are a bunch of like Japanese wafer players. They're smaller cap, but generally, like Cerebrus is an interesting trade here. They missed earnings quite badly, and their tech hasn't like the best product that anyone's ever seen from them is like 5.3 Spark, which just sucked.
Yeah,
It was a terrible product. And I think 5.6 Soul Fast, like
Mm-hmm.
ultra fast on Cerebrus, is going to be like a user experience game changer
Whoa.
for Codex. Because I think it's gonna and I just think it's gonna blow people's minds in terms of the quality, and it will cause churn from I that's part of why I am not like super jacked up on Anthropic, because
Anthropic churn. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like it's a knife fight between OpenAI and Anthropic, and OpenAI has like hundreds of millions of daily active users that they can turn into an ad business. They have a better harness with Codex, and they have like potentially an ultra fast coding experience coming. I'm like, they're gonna be okay. I'm not 100% confident Anthropic's gonna be okay. And so if everyone's
Got it.
bidding Anthropic, like that's the one I don't want to be part. I will not be buying Anthropic's IPO.
Okay. Okay, I have two more for you, and I'll let you leave. First one is on the to round out the bio stuff. Tulip King, our resident quant's favorite stock is Eli Lilly. Is that, can you just like buy Eli Lilly and pay attention to nothing else?
Well, I don't think so. I think the mega caps after after Moderna made that, 140% daily move and blew everyone up, it changes people's mindsets. Nobody's afraid to short Eli Lilly. People are going to be afraid to short a lot of this, the psychology of shorting like small cap bio stocks in the current environment is going to shift. And so
Got it.
is my like there's stuff, for example, that would be like turbo shorts, like Tempest AI is just like this, like, very sketch, like AI enabled, biopharma stock that would have been to me a short before, that's now like a long, right? Because you're like, okay, the market cap is less than 20 billion, like someone could just buy this thing, and
Yeah, yeah.
and like if Anthropic bought this, like the IPO would go better than it would, it's sort of like that becomes the story, is like you have these $1 trillion, Cursor, for example. Like actually, I think the positive thing is that I didn't talk about this, but Grok 4.6 is good. And Cursor, now Elon's trying to buy the other Cursor clone. It's I'm blanking on the name, the makers of Devon. Um
Oh, Cognition?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Elon's trying to buy that because it works, right? Because you're like, you buy these players, they have a lot of data. And even Spirit Airlines, like, there's like a huge value of their like customer data. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you want to buy things that have a lot of data because then, Elon's already shown us that you can support the value of a multi-trillion-dollar asset with a $60 billion acquisition that everyone else thought was insane. So
Yes.
like anything
Yes.
trading at like 20 billion where you're like, I could buy that and pump my $1 trillion stock, you're like, I'll do that all day. Right. So I don't like the way I would express this is like buy small cap biotherapeutics that have a data pipeline. That's going to work from a narrative perspective. Fundamentally, dude, I have no idea. That's not my specialty.
Cool. I think that was really well put together thesis on the whole bio side. And I got to look into this monkey situation. My last question for you, it can sort of be like a philosophical outlook, if you will, is like on the Bitcoin debasement future of the U.S. economy side. Like, what do we need to watch for? Like, what levers are going to have impacts? What is going to matter as far as how far this Bitcoin gold run can press? And yeah, what do we need to look for from where things shift from this point forward? Like, what is now important?
I think it is important. Like there are two things that I would say are relatively important. The first is that for the market to go up, the stock market, I think you need to start to see true AI labor force automation.
Yeah,
Like you need to see unemployment tick up so that the Fed can start cutting uh, without a serious credibility issue. Because if the Fed cuts with a tight labor market and high inflation, it's going to cause serious problems for Fed credibility. So it's
got
like
it.
you need to see this kick. And number two, um, the the war in Iran, I think, is underrated in terms of like, actually when the war in Iran started, uh, you had the narrative of like Anthropic, quote unquote, refusing to use AI for autonomous weapons.
Mhm.
And now we're like deep in it. We're like, wait a second, um, we're not winning. It's not obvious that we're winning, and there's all these like areas that we were saying that AI is going to benefit us, such as war,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
where it's not. And that ruins the ROI story. And so if the Iran war prolongs, you get supply chain issues, And it also ruins the credibility of a lot of these sort of AI automation weaponry plays, and detracts from the overall like AI thesis, and like is terrible for the world. It's terrible for the economy. It's terrible for the Trump administration. A prolonged Middle East conflict drastically increases the likelihood of a left switch in the United States, because it looks like a foreign policy shit show. And that could cause like basically right now you can see on Polymarket the war the likelihood of the Strait of Hormuz reopening by the end of the year is like been cut in half, right? And so prolonged Iran acceleration, it could materially derate equities relative to fixed income, and fixed income is already smoked. And so those are the two things you need to see, like for the market to pump, or like risk assets to pump, equities specifically, you need to see AI job automation and resolution in war. If you don't see those things, I think the base case is like just like grind lower in stocks. And then, I think crypto is going to go up for separate reasons from that, right? So I think like the current environment is likely to result in perpetual outperformance of coins relative to stocks. And then if that reverses, maybe we're in utopia and you stop having me on the stream.
Dude, you're a movie, man. You're a fucking movie. This was sick. Last question then. On that point, crypto goes up for different reasons. What do you think is the number one thing people should pay attention to? Is it like best at comments? Is it like what the treasury does? Like, is there anything that is on your horizon? Like, if this happens, then Doom or Valhalla, or are you sort of like playing it by ear?
Dude, if the Clarity Act goes through, which is like a 25% chance.
Yeah.
But if it does go through, then we'll actually go to Valhalla. And I mean, but that's a total flyer. But there could be like a true God candle on just terrible things, like H bar, like you'll see the dumb move, right?
Why?
Like,
Why?
Well, I think yesterday, like you had the. I study XRP, right? Like I'm in it.
You're the only guy, yeah.
And like you saw Brad Garlinghouse and Trump be like, "Thanks, Brad," and then like XRP goes up 20%, and you're like, like this thing has like the potential to move. Canton Network, like if can't like these things have been just decimated because of the Clarity Act. And I'm like, okay, if we're going to go like turbo pro crypto, if Trump is making that a priority in the middle of a war, maybe he's more serious about this than like we gave him credit for, and like he's going to wrangle people. And I think that would be the Valhalla case, right? If Clarity doesn't go through, it's kind of like my positioning is like I like the guys that are not going to shut down operations if their Brooklyn team gets fired, right? It's like it's like Hyperliquid's outside the US, like Binance is outside the US, like Ethereum is basically outside the US. Like those are kind of my longs. Whereas like if the Clarity Act goes, like you're like, okay, XRP is going to like to 240, or it's going to be retarded, right? So it's like it's like I think that's like the day trade, like the second the Clarity Act gets passed or not, then you have to be there for that, like, and it's in September. So that's like a very near term thing.
Alex, good Alexander, dude, you're a movie. Thanks again for coming on. Maybe post OpenAI we'll do part 7 or something.
Yeah. All right. Peace. Yeah.
All right, man. Peace. Oh, what a movie that guy is, huh? Oof. Shout out to Alex. Alex, good. The bio stuff is crazy, by the way. The bio stuff is nuts. I'm not gonna lie. The bio stuff is fucking nuts. Shout out to Alex, good. Shout out to crypto. Shout out to the market looking pretty good, man. I must admit, that guy's a fucking movie. Clippers should have fun with that. Let's peep this real quick. Did I miss anything on market bubble?
My brain. Be beta because Democrats hate them.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, who are you marketing this to?
I don't know, bro.
Is VVV the sleeper AI infrastructure play on chain?
VVV is a sleeper like consumer app play on chain. I think VVV is one of the sleeper plays in crypto. They're like 4 million users right now. I think they just hit like 100 million annualized revenue. Yeah, but VVV is one of the applications that has found breakout success and consumer success, which is extremely hard to do.
Oh my god! Should we
With
just watch
a
it? Go to
domain of
73
customers that aren't even
before we get
really
off?
crypto native customers, which is awesome. And I think the narrative for them
73 before we get off.
as like uncensored AI is just great generally going forward. I think for the same reason
my
that
God.
Bitcoin made a ton of sense, like uncensored money that nobody can get access to. You can store however you want. The same way that you should have like uncensored access to AI, especially if AI is going to continue to get a lot more impressive over the years. You're not going to want to be dependent on these like centralized companies. That
Talked
can-
about it on the first show around
what
here,
you
around
say,
$8. It's at $14 now. You think it's still a trade?
It's a great trade. I mean, it's consolidated for the past few months. Like it was a really strong leader this year. It went from $1 to $20. We first mentioned it around $8, and it's kind of been consolidating for the past few months. And now it's starting, I think, to trend up again. They just had their recent round, which they did at $1 billion valuation, but their numbers are fucking through the roof. They're crushing it. And I think it's rare that a crypto app is crushing it outside of crypto and
Facts.
also has a token attached to it. And the team is focused on delivering value to the token as well. So yeah, I like Venice a lot. There's not really much that they're competing with, I would say, in like the AI space right now in crypto.
Open router sold for
Yeah,
$7 billion.
it's definitely a good spot. Good shout.
Cool. What else do I have here?
They talk about Pump Fun. Did you talk about Pump Fun?
Should we be worried about robots taking our jobs? Like, is that a
No,
real
Pump
concern?
Fun.
Should we actually be worried about this?
I think it's just too far. I don't think it's as close as people are saying it is, bro. Like I see some of these videos of
I don't think it's anywhere close, by the way. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm fucking tired. I gotta go hit legs. I gotta hit legs. Shout out to Alexander Good, by the way. That guy fucking rocks. I'm a huge fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest. I still don't know where we're at with this whole 30-year thing. Like, I really don't. I've talked to like 9 people about it now. There seems to be like no consensus. I still don't really know where we're at with this. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I'll be so. Let me know who I need to bring on to talk about this. Seriously, let me know who I need to bring on because I still don't know where we're at. I don't seem to have any clarity on what's gonna happen. I'm extremely long. I'm gonna be honest. Every dollar of my perps account is in the market right now. I don't know if that is like top tick signal. Every dollar in my perps account is in the market. I don't know if I should not be saying that, but my Bitcoin longs are from 68 and my pump longs are from a long time ago. And yeah, I still don't know where we are at. Like, I think what happened today, I with very novice understanding of macroeconomics, very novice. I'm not an economist. My very novice understanding of macro read this, which is right here. Read this. Best we will routinely do buybacks and increase size of buyback. Best will be more than 4 billion. I read this, and then I scrolled down here and looked at this, and then I saw this, and I said to myself, "Yeah, risk the fuck on the coins." But if you had told me 4 days ago that the treasury is going to increase the size of buybacks from 2 billion to 4 billion, I wouldn't even have been able to tell you what that means. So, am I the signal? I don't know. I would have said I don't even know what that means, guys. That's what I would have said. I would have looked you dead in the eye and said I don't even know what that means. But I would have been able, as someone that was already fucking bullish, the coins, I would have looked at the hyperliquid thing and been like, yeah, it's go time. Because my original thesis was Bitcoin doesn't even fucking matter in this run. Bitcoin has no. My take would have been Bitcoin does not even matter in this. I have a YouTube video. I'm getting fried on it right now. The comments are just ripping me apart. I'll show you the video. The comments are ripping me apart right now in this video. Where is it? This first crypto cycle without Bitcoin. This is gonna be the first bull run to this, and the comments are killing me. And my whole thesis was like, there's good Alexander the same thesis. There's good fucking coins now for the first time ever. Then Trump comes out hyper liquid, and then it feels like I'm a big believer in the mandate of heaven. I believe that people people are granted the mandate of heaven. You never own the mandate of heaven, but you are allowed to walk with it for certain time frames. How long it stays with you is sort of up to you, sort of up to universe forces that are generally out of your control, but it sort of feels like it was handed to crypto right now. And I'll tell you what, I've seen bear market rallies, and this does not feel like a bear market rally. It just doesn't. A bear market rally is like a couple 5-6% days that suck, and everybody's selling it, and then you're done. This is like, get the fuck out of the way or get blown the fuck up. Pump fund is up 23% today in one day. Look at these daily charts. This is like, get the fuck out of the way or get blown out is what this feels like to me. It's just like purely feel. And so I don't know. You kind of got to ride it and see what happens. If we wake up in a couple days and then Bitcoin is 64 and Sailor's drilling again, pump retrace the whole move, then guess what? We go right back to where we were before. Okay, and then nothing changes. We're back in hell with Scott Besson, and nothing changed. Therefore, we lost nothing. But if it doesn't happen, you feel like, yeah, I don't know. It feels like get blown the fuck out and get out of the way type of pumps. And so, also, why wouldn't SPX go up? It's because this is like a hyperinflation. This is like everyone's buying like debasement. This is why gold is pumping, because they're like, this is like a dollar going down leading to the move type of pump, not like the economics of the S&P 500 are getting stronger. So people are like, I need to own hard assets. So I don't know. My hard asset is the meme coin launch pad on Solana. So I don't know. Look, guys, I just trade the charts, man. I trade the trends. I trade what I feel. Many billionaire VCs are going around talking about IRL is back. I also think there's some like, okay, I'll say one more thing and I'll get off. It's like, I think there's a lot of like, every time we go up or every time we go down, there's a lot of like, I must understand exactly why this move happened, or I have to justify why this thing happened in hindsight. And as we are 11 months removed from the biggest washout in crypto ever, all the leverage is gone. All the DATs have left. All the scam has disappeared. The tourists have ran for the exits months and months and months ago. There's a generational bull market in tech. Crypto didn't participate at all. And during those 11 months, everything got hacked. Everything got exploited. DeFi got hardened. AI got really good. And a couple Zcash, Hyperliquid, VVV, Pump Fund, a couple good things emerged as they can stand on their own, broke correlations with Bitcoin. And then, I don't know, sometimes the stars just align. So I'm far from euphoric at this stage, but it feels like get out of the way or get blown the fuck out. And until that changes, we're going to continue fucking pressing the gas. So anyways, I'm live every morning at 8:30 a.m. EST. If you like the show, I'm live every morning. We do market open every morning for 3 hours. This is my second stream today. As much as I would love to come back to PST hours, I wake up at 6:28 on the dot. I go on my roof and I run fucking laps because I am a freak and the pit is going to win. And if you don't believe me, get the fuck out of the stream. I'm out. I'll see you in the morning. I will catch you when I catch you. See you when I see you. I yield my time. Fuck the whole spiel. I'm out.